Hey everybody, welcome. This video is going to be a little bit different. Alrighty then. So I'm going to be redesigning Mammon. Oh boy, I have a lot to say about this, but let's continue, shall we? Um, to be honest, there wasn't much lore I could find about Mammon, so I decided to mix stuff up. So, with Mammon, I kind of see him being like the crime ringer. He already has control over money, so I kind of see him being not just the mafia-style Godfather-esque character, but also a sleazy type boss and stuff like that. He's, like, there's some biblical lore that I kind of took a bit of inspiration from, being a Greek mythology nerd. I saw a little bit of something cool with the idea of, like, with Pluto and stuff like that. And Hades isn't really completely bad at times. So, but I kind of wanted it be the opposite in a certain extent. So with Mamon, I thought in the simplest terms that not only is he like has his own entertainment, he's already ripping off some of the other sins. Like he's already with Lucifer and Lululand and stuff like that, and kind of making his own probably entertainment stuff with like Fizz. I kind of thought in the realm of simplifying him and kind of making him the most dangerous. So I thought in the realm of kind of like what different things can you really pull from. And I was looking into the lore and kind of like he's obviously greed is kind of simple and a very simple sin. So I kind of just went with my gut and went through some different ideas. And I kept rewatching the show and picking up on some things. Also, big shout out to Love Arts who kind of inspired this one. Because I kind of was just looking and I was looking at the design and it kind of thought it would be more entertainment kind of pizzazz, almost like how some people like Lady Gaga kind of showboat and wear these very weird fancy outfits, but behind the scenes they're a little bit more different and a lot more simple and stuff like that, kind of like that. So in a certain extent I kind of was looking at Mammon and just kind of thought, let's simplify this. So yeah, so here we go. Let's get into the design. All right. The design front, I kind of went with two different designs. The first one is the more showboaty, and the next one would be more what's called maybe. I don't know. I might just keep it as the simple Mammon design. So yeah, in the front of his personality, I kind of see him being the more showboaty, more kind of like egotistical or narcissistic out of the sins, but I also see him being the more power hungry and the more puppet master, more manipulator of the sins. I kind of see him not only as like he's already greedy, so like, but I also see him being the more power hungry, and that's the brief distinction because you know greed and power can be similar in aspect. Like being very power hungry can be also being very greedy. So him already having control over the wealth of hell and him having an iron thumb on his own ring, it being very polluted and stuff like that, I kind of see Mammon being more kind of like behind the scenes. He's a more kind of like making trouble for the other rings, setting up like these little traps and certain things, like having his goons not only control like his own ring, because like the Greed citizens are very like sleazy, very you have the loan sharks, and then you have like other stuff. I think him having like a circle with like crime people and stuff like that kind of works in a certain extent, where he's kind of like a more deadlier version of Asmodeus, where he's a lot more kind of like, you know, he can be showboaty and very like, oh, like I have this entertainment and stuff like that. And he's also ripping off of, the other sins, but he's also behind the scenes, like stabbing those sins in the back. Like he's kind of like one of those characters where I can see him like being like at face value, he's like, happy and cheerful, but the moment you turn your back, he's like stabbing you and stuff like that. He's kind of very conniving, and he's also the more silver tongued how I would see him. So he's kind of like, Tom Riddle, but with a personality. um, so I kind of see Mammon kind of being more, how do I say it? Like, I kind of like the one aspect of the design, because there's not much you can pull from the biblical lore on the design front, it being a jester. And I think that's why, like his relationship with Fizz is kind of like how Odin is with his sons, like God of War, where he kind of just sees each one as a tool. That's kind of how his relationship with Fizz is, and how I would see it, where he's very like, you know, kind of like pulls like these little strings, even though he knows about his relationship with Asmodeus. He kind of sees it as like a stepping stool where he can easily control Asmodeus with Fizz, like slightly whispering in Fizz's ear, telling him some things and manipulating him, and that's where he has control over Asmodeus. And that's kind of like something I thought would be a cool idea of like, Mammon kind of controlling another sin from a distance, unlike the others where he can't really completely do that, and stuff like that. I will say that how I see Mammon is like he's not just greedy or power hungry. I think he's the more dangerous one. And I think he would be more dangerous to the IMP crew because of like him controlling the crime ring of hell, and also having a stepping stool over Moxie's family is how I would see it. Him having like, Crimson would probably be his right hand man. He would partially have control over, him, and, some other crime rings that are in other parts of hell, not just the greed ring. That would be something that would be pretty unique. And I kind of see him like a Wilson Fisk slash, other types of stuff. At a face value, when he's like in his more CEO type of entertainer type of, form, he's like showboaty. He's very pizzazz, very, face value, smile for the cameras, very polite, but he's really just like wanting to spit at you and internally and stuff like that. And he's also very silver tongued and manipulative, but on his crime front, his second face, he's like setting up traps, manipulating things behind the scenes, very puppet master-esque, where I see him being like the type that would like be the real reason up for not just Lucifer, but also being the secondary person, working with Adam, that would basically manipulate things behind the scenes. Also making trouble for the IMP crew on a personal level, you know, and, not just being a controller of entertainment, like maybe he has control over Veronica and other different, forms of entertainment. So like him having like a share, and stuff like that, that could really be like something that you would not really think of. And I think that with Mammon, he's like, it's a hard pill for me to like think of different ways to make him interesting, because greed is a very simple thing. Like it's been done before. But I think like in a front of like with Mammon being like who he is, I think he can be very cool, changing up things. I think the one aspect that I like is it being like a jester type outfit and stuff like that. And I think that kind of works because it takes out, like, it kind of takes this idea of him kind of, I think I would probably change a lot of things. And that's what I'm aiming to do right now. I am doing. But like, as you're seeing, but I also see like some stuff. And the design front, as you're seeing, he's kind of a lot more different. Like, I'm keeping the jester aspect and stuff like that. And, you see like all these different other things I'm adding. Like, of course, he's keeping the four hands, but I also kind of see him being the less of a tree completely. And I kind of see it more like a spade, which was something I noticed in the base design. I kind of thought I'd keep a little bit of him being kind of like the Las Vegas style in his design, and less more ringleader and more kind of like, showboating Las Vegas, crime mafia mix type thing. So yeah, and like I think some other things like him keeping that green palette, of course, but we'll slightly change up some things. Uh, and we're kind of really pushing, like, kind of keeping that aspect. But yeah, we're kind of keeping the simple aspects, but kind of slightly changing up some things. But yeah, here is Mammon here. Hopefully, you guys enjoy. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All that jazz really helps me out. And let me know what you think in the comments down below.